Hi, it's Dan from EUJuicers.com, and this video will be a first look at the new Fruit Press Mini. This is something that just came in. I'm real interested to check it out myself. Brand new product, it's unique, really nothing like it on the market. Now, I grew up in a small town that was actually, the nickname was Appletown, and we had a lot of apple farms where you could go and you could get fresh pressed, cold pressed juice. And it's a little different than the juice you'd get from a normal juicer, even an auger juicer, because it's being filtered through this special bag and it produces the clearest juice. A popular use of this kind of filtering is some alternative cancer therapies. They suggest or they promote the use of fresh pressed juices that are pressed this way because it has to be absolutely clear. So that's one big benefit. Of course, another big benefit is it's small, it's minimalistic, the design's great. Of course, it's going to be a lot less expensive than a conventional juicer. You don't need an electrical outlet nearby. You can make a small quantity of really great quality juice. So let me show you what this device is. It's really simple. It's literally a fruit press. It's fruit being pressed by your own strength. And this is what's pressing it. It's a wooden disc. It's made of oak. Just like the base here is made of oak. It's a real nice looking machine here. And on top of it, you have some stainless steel arms, an aluminum T-bar here. The rest of it is all stainless steel. Let me take this out. Now on the inside, there's a filter bag. It's made of a synthetic material, and it's effective at keeping all the pulp out, and it's also very easy to clean. I'll be rinsing it just under running water between juicing, and occasionally you'll want to put it in the washing machine. There's an inner basket here, and the reason there's an inner basket as well as the outer canister here is it's got little feet on the bottom. It's going to raise it up, give a little clearance so that you don't get any pulp impacted at the bottom. That could block it, that could restrict your juice flow, but instead it's got all these perforations to allow a more even distribution of the juice. And finally, there's just the canister, again, made from stainless steel. Got the spout here, and putting it all together is super simple. It just fits right in. And what I'm going to try today is some things beyond the apples. Now, a machine like this is mainly designed for apples, to get the clearest apple juice. But I want to see how it does on some other things. I've got some oranges, grapes, raspberries here, even carrots. I'm not sure. The thing with a press like this, even the big commercial ones, the produce needs to be chopped first or grated into small pieces. Maybe not with these guys. We'll see. It'll be an experiment. But I've got a basket of apples. I need to find a way to cut this, so I'm going to look for a chopper, and I'll be right back with some chopped apples. So I've got these chopped up into real small bits. It's important to get your apples cut into the smallest pieces possible, not into like a mash or a mush, because then you're going to get a lot of pulp, but very small pieces. I used a stick food processor, stick blender. You could use a regular food processor. You could grate it by hand even, using the biggest openings on a grater. That would take a while. If you've got an auger juicer with a blank screen, you could use that as well. You know, it'll just push everything through like when you're making peanut butter or something. But this is a good consistency, and you need it in small pieces because, like I said, this is just a disc here. There's no blades, there's no spinning action. It's literally just pressing down, and if you throw a big chunk of apple, it's not going to go so well. So the process is pretty simple. I'm just going to spoon a lot of this apple into here. I don't want it completely full because the bag needs to be kind of sealed over on itself before I put the disc in. But I want to get a lot in there so I get a lot of juice out of here. What I'm doing is kind of packing it down. You want it spread as flat and evenly as possible, just so the pressing disc here has a flat surface. You won't have bubbles in there. And if you pack it in, it just means more juice will come out. I think that's probably enough. One more little scoop here. And what I'm going to do is level it out a bit. Then I fold the bag over onto itself. So this bag will actually be kind of sealed at the top. You can see that. Then I just put the disc in. So I'll just put it up here, line up this little rod here. And if you've got a small glass, you're just making some juice for yourself, you could do that. Look, it's already starting on its own, just from the weight of the disc. But I'm using one of these. This is a nice 1 liter glass container you can get here from EU Juicers. It's the Sauna brand. It's the one I use at home with my vertical juicer, my horizontal juicer. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this rod out. This gives me more leverage, kind of like when you're tightening the lug nuts on a car, on some tires. But just till I get it going, I'm going to do this by hand without the bar. It'll be a lot faster. Then once it starts getting difficult, I'll slide the bar in for more leverage. Now look at that. This is the first time I've used one of these. That's coming out a lot faster than I thought. And so far, not much effort needed here. So it's getting pretty tight. They're getting compressed in there. Notice the quality of that juice. That's the difference between that cold, fresh pressed juice, the stuff we would call almost apple cider in the States, although in Europe, cider usually implies some alcohol. So I'm putting the bar in just to get better leverage. Yeah. So I'll hold down the unit. And it's squeezing that bag pretty tight, getting all the juice it can out of there. This takes some effort. It's not too bad, especially if I put the bar out here. All right, I'm getting pretty close to the bottom there. So I'm going to stop here. And you can tilt it forward. Whoops. Get as much juice as you can. And I'll just loosen it. Okay, at this point, it's easier just to do this. So that wasn't so difficult. It required some force, but if you've got the bar in this kind of position, you get plenty of leverage. Not a problem. And it just leaves a real dark, rich juice. If you've had that stuff you get in the fall from the farmer's market, that's what this is here. It's not that clear, almost greenish juice that I would get, for example, out of my horizontal juicer. I'm going to pour it, see how much we got here. Made a pretty good yield of juice. Looks good. You know, in most of these videos, at the end of these videos, sometimes we have a lot of different juices, and I'm always wanting to try them. And when we're finished, I get to try them. But I really want to try this right now. So I've got my little shot glass here. Because this is what we were raised on as kids. Yeah, it's really good. It's a real difference from what I get out of my auger juicer for sure. A lot thicker, but also clear, like a richer flavor. Yeah, I like that. Let me just show you what's inside before I do my next juicing. I don't know if you can see that. It's basically just the bag of pulp. There's a lot more pulp here, obviously, than you would have with an auger or twin gear juicer. But that's also why the juice is so clear, because all of this pulp, skin, and everything is left behind in this bag. So next up, I'm going to juice some grapes. Again, this is mainly designed for apples. Why not? Got the machine out. Let's try some other things. Now it's time for these grapes. I've sliced these grapes in half just to break the skin already. It should help with the extraction of the juice. Otherwise, the process is going to be the same as with the apples. I'll fill it up, I don't know, about 2/3, 3/4 full. Okay, that's about 3/4 full. You can't get a flat surface like you could with the apples because that was, cut so small, almost like a paste. But otherwise, it's the same process. Fold it over, put in the plate, line it up here. I've got this a lot higher now. And I just want to line this up. I really unscrewed it last time. And again, once it starts getting difficult to turn, that's when it's time to put in this bar. Am I getting any juice yet? It's pushing stuff down, but I don't see anything. Again, this is an experiment. Oh, there's stuff coming out now. Maybe if I cut those grapes into smaller pieces. So you can see I'm getting some juice out of this. And if I turned this more, I'm sure I'd get some more. But I don't know if I want to do that. Honestly, I'd say two possibilities. One, maybe this kind of press just really isn't suited for grapes. Two, it could be the grapes themselves. So I'm going to disassemble again, throw out the empty grapes, and I think I'll try carrots next. Maybe we'll get better results from that. Let's see what happens. So now it's time to try some carrots. These guys have been absolutely shredded. That's what you need to do with carrots. Don't put in big chunks of carrots, or don't even try slicing it. You need to have as much surface area basically as possible for the moisture. And again, it's best if the bag is kind of wet, so I rinsed it off and let it stay a little wet so it doesn't absorb any of the juice from the carrots. I'm a little skeptical about this, given how kind of dry these carrots feel. One nice thing about these grated carrots, like those apples, they form almost a little paste here, so I can get a pretty level surface. And again, pack it down, because you're just going to save yourself some work later when you're turning the screw here. Okay, it's like before. Fold the bag over. Put in the disc, make sure it's as level as you can. Get the glass ready. Yep, I need to unscrew it a bit. And here we go. Oh, wow. There's juice. Okay, I was a little skeptical after those grapes. But that's not bad. So how do you know when to stop? That's a good question. I think you get to a point and you realize, like when you're tightening the lug nuts on your car, if you're changing a tire, you get a flat tire, at a certain point you're pulling and yeah, you can go a little farther, but you don't want to go too much. I think I'm just about at that point here. But again, I was a little surprised at how much juice came out of here. Make sure, of course, to get that every last drop out of there. One nice thing, that is going to be really clean carrot juice. It wasn't bad. Got a full glass. It's about 200 milliliters. So I'd say 2 successful tries here. Let's see what's going to be up next. Oranges are something that's easy to get juice out of most any machine. But I'm curious about this, with this synthetic bag, how it's going to go through, if the fibers in there are going to clog things, not sure. So again, this is going to be another experiment. Now these oranges aren't shredded or grated, not like you could grate an orange anyway, but they are cut into pretty small pieces, which should help. So it's filled about, I don't know, 2/3, 3/4 of the way. Again, fold the bag over, put the pressing disc on here. And I need to undo this just a bit. There we go. Let's see how much juice we can get out of it. So it's going pretty well. Definitely not getting as much as I'd get out of a conventional or an auger juicer. Yeah, so I found by rearranging the oranges in there, I could get some more juice. Also, one thing I'm doing here, when I notice the disc turning, that means it's found an area where there's less oranges on one side. I just kind of push down on the stronger side. And that levels it, lets me get a little more juice out, that's all. But I think that's sufficient for here. I've got over 200 milliliters out of that. And again, should be a really well-filtered juice. So you see, by kind of playing with it, adjusting it, making sure I got the oranges distributed as evenly in the cylinder as possible, I was able to get a decent amount of juice. Next up, I want to try some raspberries. It's out of season, so these aren't going to be the freshest, juiciest. They're the freshest we could find. But after what happened with the grapes, I'm thinking rather than putting them in whole, I need to break them up a little. So I'm going to just mash them a bit with a fork. Even better if I had a potato masher, like I was making mashed potatoes, that would be ideal. But I'm just going to make this into kind of a mush here. Okay, that's a lot better consistency. Now remember, with raspberries, soft berries, you're not going to get a lot of juice. They're just not a juicy fruit like a citrus. But what we should get is a little bit of very intense juice. I'm going to feed this in here. Now this didn't fill it nearly as much as the apples, the carrots, or even the oranges. It's maybe a third full. Oh look, some excited juice is already coming out. But this should stay pretty level because it's not that chunky. Look, it's self-juicing already. So I've got to turn it down a little lower because there's a lot less volume of berries or berry puree now in there. Oh, look at that. I just noticed something. I forgot a step. You put in the fruit, seal the bag, put on the disc. Guess what? I didn't seal the bag. Which means I still got a lot of juice out there, but some of the berries started coming up around the side of the disc. That's why you seal the bag. It also just keeps everything a little straighter. So I'm going to take this guy out, close the bag, and I should be able to get even more juice out. Yeah, I was wondering, why was I seeing raspberries coming out the side? Yeah, there's more. Those berries that we're trying to escape are now getting juiced. And you can see that is a thick, almost like a syrup, you know, real intense juice. And you probably wouldn't drink that straight. I suppose you could, but if we added some of that, you know, on a 1-to-4 ratio, it would be a great flavoring for the apple juice. And again, I'm going to play around with this disc, keep it straight, just to maximize. Yeah, look at that. Just by holding it down on one side, I'm able to get a little more. So I'm kind of surprised. I'm getting near the bottom here. But it looks like it really got a lot of juice out of a relatively small quantity of raspberries. Just tip it forward here. Yeah, look at that. That's more than 300 milliliters of juice. And again, this is thick, intense juice. You'll see as I pour how thick it is. Yeah, that consistency is really dense. I'm going to get my little handy dandy shot glass here because I want to try it. That's good. A little tart, a little more tart than I thought. I thought it was going to be overpoweringly sweet, but super intense raspberry flavor. So that's those. And remember, we tried the grapes before. And doing this by crushing those raspberries is making me think maybe we should give those grapes another shot, but this time crush them smaller. So I'm going to clean this up, get the chopper out, get those same grapes that we had sliced in half and crush them into little bits. You know, maybe doing it that will get something, some kind of juice. So it's an experiment. All right, it's one more time with these grapes here. Again, inspired by the raspberries. Seeing when I chopped them up with that fork and got them into kind of a wetter consistency. You can see here, these grapes have been run through a chopper, through a food processor, and there's a lot more liquid than before when there were just those half grapes. So I'm going to have to be careful because if I just pour these in direct, there's going to be grape juice everywhere. What I'll do is put some in here, hold it up so the juice doesn't leak out the spout, and then I'll just pour it directly into the glass serving container there. I can already tell there's going to be a lot more grape juice doing it this way. Let's see, yeah, look at that. So in this case, right now, that's just acting as a strainer. The chopper did the hard work in that case. Now I just want to seal the bag and get everything lined up properly. Get this nice and level. Clearly, this was the way to go. Run everything through a chopper. Get the smallest pieces possible. All right, that's going quite nicely. Get the last of it out here. Looking at it, there's about 400 milliliters of juice here. So definitely, using this device, you'll want to chop your things up as small as possible. Yeah, a lot of leftover this time. So in conclusion, just like to say that not only will the Fruit Press Mini do a good job on apples, but it did a good job on some of these others as well. The carrots, as long as you grind them up, in a real fine consistency, work great. Orange is pretty good. The raspberry's better than I thought, and the grapes, once I figured out the secret of chopping them up into small bits. And like I said, this is a great device for 1 or 2 people living at home, if you've got a minimalistic design going, or if you just want something that's less expensive than a conventional juicer. This will do the job for small quantities. If you're doing a lot of juicing, you probably want to go to an auger juicer. And I think that'll wrap it up. Hope you enjoyed this video. You can find more information at our website. That's eujuicers.com. I'm Dan. I'll see you next time. Clearest, easiest, most, yeah. No, I like the sound effect. I'm sorry. It's like, duh. Ja bych chtěl přidat nejchutná mi to. I don't want to sit with that guy.